kindergartners, this is so exciting because this is like one of the first times that most students in kindergarten have ever worked with clay before. So looking at what we have down over here, I have a board, or you can use just a piece of paper at your house, and what it does is it keeps the clay from sticking on the table. The clay should have been given to you in a plastic bag, and then you just take it out of the bag and you have your awesome slab, and a slab is a nice even thickness of clay. It's even across the whole top edge like this. Every edge you look at is all even clay. And what happens is if clay gets really skinny or it gets really thick, it usually breaks in the kiln. And so we're looking for a nice even thickness so that doesn't happen. And we'll remember that when we go to smooth our clay. So this is your slab. It's totally awesome to think that this clay is made up of teeny tiny microscopic rocks mixed with water. That's pretty much all clay is. It's just so awesome, and it's so soft. You would never think that this is rocks. It's so soft and squishy. It's so cool. So it's the smallest rock that you can find, but you can't see all the little tiny pieces of rock that this is made out of, because it's made up of so many tiny little rocks, little microscopic rocks that are mixed with water. So when I have my slab out here, I don't want it to stick to my table, so I either have a raw piece of wood or, like I said, a piece of paper is the best thing to have. And then you should have chosen between whether you want to have a maple leaf or an oak leaf. Ooh, and those are beautiful. So these were laminated a long time ago. Either one works great. I will use a maple leaf for my demonstration. An oak leaf, so if you're going to put it on here, it doesn't fit like this. We don't want those little pieces to get cut off, so you're going to have to turn your leaf so it actually fits on your slab. And the same thing with the maple leaf. It would definitely come off. So you want to turn it so all your parts are actually on there. Mrs. Samala has fettling knives in class, so at first students say, oh, knives in school. This is a special clay knife, and it's not sharp at all. It's very thin metal, but it's not sharp at all. And we use it to cut clay in class. And the big thing with cutting clay is that you would go straight down, up and down like this, so straight down, and you would slide or drag your knife down, slide and drag it. So I can feel the knife actually right now cutting down and touching the my board or my paper. So as I go and do this, it's hard to turn your knife sometimes when it's in the clay, so sometimes my knife slips off. Don't worry, doesn't matter that it slipped off. You can chop up that clay, it doesn't matter. The big thing is that you don't chop on your leaf. So you're just going and cutting and coming in and cutting and dragging. What you don't want to do is have your knife be on the side like this and cut your clay. If you do that, when you cut apart the clay, you can see that there's a thin part right now, and then there's a thick part. You don't want that thin part. All of that thin stuff is going to cut off. But so this is what you don't want to have, and that you get that from having your knife be like this. You want your knife straight up and down, so you get a nice clean edge, top of the leaf, side of the leaf, and that side is nice and smooth. Another thing that kindergarten students do, younger students do, is they take the knife and they go like this and they saw, and pretty soon your clay looks like this. Ugh, that is not a nice smooth edge. It's no big deal right now because the clay is all soft and smushy, but when you go to put this in the kiln, we're going to get this all hardened, and we'll talk about that in the next class period. But when you go to put this in the kiln that fires the clay and makes it hard, this will all be scratchy and rough, and you don't want that to happen. So you definitely want to make sure the knife is straight up and down, touching down, cutting off, down, cutting off, so that when you take the clay apart, it's nice and even like that. It's just beautiful. So you can use a butter knife at your house if you want to, because you probably don't have a fettling knife like this in class. Like I said, a thin piece of metal. Or another thing that works well is this is a skewer, and you would use this when you're making kebabs. You might not know what a kebab is, but hopefully someone in your house does. So just anything skinny that you can go down and drag. The clay is nice and soft, and so you want to make sure that it stays in the plastic until you're ready to use it. And with the clay being nice and soft like this, it's very easy to cut into. Now it's harder for young hands, like Mrs. Samala's cut a lot of clay in her life. But when kindergarten, you're going to feel a little bit of that pull of the knife. Sometimes it's going to be weird to cut this way. You can turn your leaf around if you want to, like turn the whole slab around if you want to, if it's easier to cut that way. The reason I don't do that is my paper leaf, that paper leaf I have on top kind of moves around a little bit, and I don't want to do that. But it's up for you to decide. Now, if your clay isn't perfectly cut out, your leaf, it doesn't matter, because leaves are all different shapes and sizes, so it's totally awesome no matter what. So right now, again, the clay is smushy. It's no big deal. The problem is that if you leave it like this, what will happen is these edges will be very, very, very sharp once the clay hardens and it goes inside of the kiln. So your job is going to be to do this and just tap and rub and make sure all of it gets really gently smoothed out. Now what I'm not doing is taking the clay and doing this. Squish, squish, thin it out, squish, squish. I'm not doing that. The reason why I'm not doing that is because I don't want to squish my clay and make it skinny like that. No way. If I make it skinny, it's going to break. So I'm thinking about putting finger on this side, and I'm thinking about putting a finger on the top and just tapping out these edges and making them just a little bit softer. Well, I always tell students that smoothing is a one-finger action. It just takes one finger to smooth something out. Squishing or pinching is bad news. Students will grab it and pinch, and then you have some really weak, nasty clay, which you don't want to have. Now, when I'm done tapping and making sure that all of this has been touched, I look at all the edges all the way around. It's a sculpture. Sculpture means it's three-dimensional. That means it has more than one side. It has a top and it has all these sides. Check them all out. And then I take a pencil or my skewer. I think a dull pencil actually works better because a dull pencil doesn't cut into the clay. What I would not use is a knife. A knife cuts into the clay very quickly, very deeply. If I cut into the clay deeply like this or like this, what ends up happening is that when it dries, it cracks open and you get a really nasty crack. What you want to do is super, super lightly just go through here like this, and gently, if you want to, you can make some veins in your leaf. Now, I love making veins in the leaf because when I look at leaves like this, I can see those beautiful veins in there, and it makes it feel more like a leaf. So I love that. And Mrs. Samala likes curvy lines, so that's why I am using curvy lines. Some students like straight lines. It looks so cool too. I love it. You use whatever line you want. Now, I love the way it's decorated. It's smoothed. It's not squished. However, there's one thing I'm forgetting. It's very flat. What I'm going to do as my last step is take my leaf and just gently curl up the edges. Sometimes it flops down a little bit because the rocks and water are so heavy. But if I gently turn my leaf like this, then I have something that feels more like a dish. Ooh, and I'm loving that. I think that looks awesome. So I have this nice curved edge. And then when it comes out of the kiln, it'll stay up like that. So it has a nice, gentle, curved edge. I don't really like folding it in like this much because it looks kind of angry. So I like something that's just smaller. It's up for you to decide. You're the artist. Go through, smooth everything. Just don't pinch it. Make it be the way that you want. Now, please, when you turn this into me, make sure you have a piece of paper with your name on it, or even better for Mrs. Samala, if you can have an adult help you, if you can flip over your clay and very, very, very neatly write your name on the back of the clay, then when I go to fire it, I know who it belongs to and how to get it back to you. If it's not written in here, it's going to be very, very hard. But you can't just write it in a way that Mrs. Samala can't read it. You have to really use good handwriting, and you're capable of doing that in kindergarten. It's hard, but you can get some help. So make sure your name is on the back for your beautiful leaf to get back to you. Then you can decorate it. Thanks for watching, friends. Bye.